Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to the RuneScape Chronicle Community Cup. This is a community-hosted event featuring some of RuneScape Chronicle's first ever competitive players. Of course, the game's still in closed beta as of the time of recording, and this is the first kind of tournament of its kind, hoping to pioneer the way for playing this game competitively. So that's a lot of fun, should be good, and I'm looking forward to the future of this game. So the rules for this, it is, of course, the round of 16. We're calling this the Ruby Brackets, and basically what this is every player will be playing a best of 5 versus each other. And that means first to 3 wins will progress to the next round. And each of those wins in this particular event will have to be won with a separate legend. So that's the rules format, and I think that format it was, originally we decided, well, that was decided because it, encourages viewing diversity, which is what we're doing right now, and also it rewards players who are skilled with multiple legends, and I think that's important in a card game in a competitive setting. So that's a lot of fun, should be good. Of course, my name is Interjection, and I am, of course, joined by Zalx again. We'll be bringing you this next series, which is Duck versus HolyLlama. Hello, Zalx. How are you doing?
Hey, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good as well. I'm looking forward to this one as well. Look at these win rates. Holy shit.
These win rates are really impressive, to be fair. If we're just taking a look at Ducks real quick, he's got a 69% win rate of Ariane. Given that his games doesn't have he doesn't have a huge pool of games, that's still pretty good. He has a 65% win rate with Ozan of 142 games.
Yeah, they're very high win rates. I'm not sure what bracket Duck does play his games in. Certainly I know in the previous one, Unforgiven with his high win rates, plays in exclusively gold bracket, where he's often up against people with lots of prestige. No idea what Duck plays against, but you cannot argue with those stats. They're very, very high, and I did say Unforgiven I think was the highest overall, but I didn't realise that Duck's were quite as high. These are not based on quite as many games. That is worth pointing out. But HolyLlama's still positive in all of the classes, right? And has had experience playing every class as well. That's really big in this kind of format, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a fair distribution of games throughout his all his legends, and all the win rates are above 50%. So it's pretty damn positive from him. Yeah,
and players like even me, if we switch on over to this, I haven't played any games for Raptors, so that goes to show that HolyLlama in a very good spot, and being competent elite, playing with games with all of his legends. So it could be interesting. It's these two players. I think they are fairly evenly matched based on the stats. We'll have to see how this goes, though. Are you ready to get into game number 1, Zalx?
I'm ready to get into game.
All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright, game number 1 in this best of 5 series between Duck and HolyLlama. Duck going to be starting with the Ozan by the looks of it. Looks like HolyLlama going to be wishing his opponent good luck on Discord.
Yep.
That was in the recording. There wasn't a lot I could do about it. And of course, me and Zalx have not seen these games. We do not know the outcome of them. Or, actually I have seen the games, but I did my best to not see the outcome. Actually, I cannot remember who won, if I'm being entirely honest. I deliberately didn't pay much attention. But what do we have in the opening hand here?
So we see Duck playing his Ozan, which is his strongest in terms of stat-wise, and HolyLlama's going for an Arene. By the looks of it, HolyLlama's running another one-attack Ariane, and Duck is going for what appears to be a weapon Ozan. I could be wrong on that, but with the 2 SGSs in hand and the 2 Down Light Fingers,
yeah, I think this is
quite an interesting deck.
This absolutely looks like some sort of aggressive deck with weapons in it used for doing damage, and looks like he's going to be opening Ali Morrison into Darren Lightfinger. That's 5, 6, 7, 8 gold. Get that SGS and leaves him 1 gold left over to start doing some things like slamming his opponent in the face with that big weapon. Looks like that Archmage Segredor not going to be too useful, so Llama not going to be too happy about that. But not a bad call. I absolutely respect the decision to play that on Chapter 1, or really anywhere, because, Ozan is known for those big creatures like, of course, Skeleton Champion and Scarabite Assassin, among others, right? Ketzek is also a card.
I think we had a discussion about that, didn't we? About playing Archmage Segedar on Chapter 1 is quite a ballsy move. Yeah. Because you obviously need to get gold in the first place, so the earliest chapter you're playing is on 2.
Yeah, slot 2.
Not many people expect, slot 2. Not many people expect the Archmage Segedar so early in the game.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely, especially against other Arianes, because they're less likely to have Enfeebles and Jorga Shamans and things like that. But against, even against Raptor as well, the question is, is slot 2 too late? If you're going first, like HolyLlama is, I think it's okay. But here we are into Chapter 2, and both players still on reasonably high HP. Looks like Duck is going to be carrying that SGS through to the next chapter, and against Ariane, I don't think there's too much risk involved. Does not find any... Oh, he does have Stray. Snapshot there. Going to be very, very effective. Look at that. Going to use that 1 gold for that, you know, that 8 damage snapshot. That's about as effective as you can ever get a snapshot. Going to be very happy about that. And then he's got the strikes as well. Looks like he's going to bob the cat, and that could throw a spanner in the works for HolyLlama if he's intending to use his gold, because, of course, it looks like he's going to get stolen there, right?
Yeah, he's going to take 3 gold off from there, but he will take... What's that? It depends if he uses... Actually, he's going to use his weapon on Chapter 1, isn't he? So he'll take 2 damage off the... 1 damage off the bob. But it's a decent play overall. I mean, he's going to get the strike in with his Saradom and Godslord, while gaining gold as well.
Yeah, it looks like he was, Duck was a bit worried about that gold being used up on something like MLG Storm. Doesn't get used on that, but it looks like he didn't want to commit to the Bob the Cat in slot 1 in case it didn't really steal anything. So instead plays Pyramid Plunder to guarantee his opponent has gold, and then, of course, steals it back. HolyLlama, though, gonna kill a skeleton champion with his 3-1 weapon that he carried through, and, you know, because of the Pyramid Plunder, doesn't really lose any gold. I don't really think it's going to affect him in any way at all. And actually, I think that Bob the Cat just did damage to him, which is not really what he wants, but lots of damage incoming now. There's the snapshot for, you know, 8 damage there, monstrous, into the strike. And it's worth pointing out that is a strike, not a battle, which is, you know, actually very, very good for him right now. Because in this matchup, you want to conserve as much life as possible. So playing those strikes first before the battle is absolutely the right thing to do.
Definitely. I mean, if you look at it now, HolyLlama is on 8 health.
Yeah.
I mean, if he draws... I think if he draws a snapshot, he's one, hasn't he? Because that'll do... Actually, if he draws any strike or snapshot.
Yeah, he's got 9 attack, right? Anything that lets battle or strike, he's won the game. Can he find it? That is the question. He's going second, though, so he has to get past that first slot, waiting for opponent. What cards? There's a dazing shot. No strikes, fell into his hand. You can see the cursor movement there. He's not too happy about that. Let's switch on over to Llama and see what he's planning. Skeletal Mage coming out, of course, has the weapon for that. Will guarantee get that down. Enfeeble into possibly, you know, Jorga Shaman or Infernal Mage here. He's counting the cards in his opponent's hand right now and decides actually Infernal Mage is going to be safer because his opponent will play some cards.
His opponent will be on 1 HP if he plays Infernal Mage. That's why he's going into the recoil there. Even though the recoil, if by chance did hit, it would do 9 damage, but that 4 should finish him off.
Yeah, dazing shots. Gonna do not too much damage, actually. Yeah. Oh, if he'd found the strike, he would have won here, because, you know, this would be 1 gold for, like, a Mage of Zamorak or something, but, you know, doesn't have that, and that might be a facet of, like, the number of strikes he does run in his deck. You know, if he's running Dazing Shot, the question is, did he take out something like Bounty Hunt to put the Dazing Shot in? You know, that's the question. Does loot the Horde Stalker there. Probably the less desirable card that's in his deck, but, you know, I understand the decision. If you've already got 2D longs, you might want to run the Horde Stalker, as it is another 5-2 weapon. He is already running 2 SGSs, and actually, I'd argue that the Horde Stalker and that the SGSs are actually very good in this matchup here, because you do get the extra health and damage. Like, the extra health is relevant versus Ariane. 1 life. Look, and he's going to restore 6 life there, so he is going to live another day, and has the 5-2 weapon to keep on striking, though it is worth pointing out he did replace his 7-1 weapon. So at this point...
He's now on 3 health, so if he does get a win strike, then it's over.
Yeah, he just needs to find another... Yeah, so, you know, he could have lost here. HolyLlama going first. Basically any card kills him at this point. But should Duck dodge that first slot? This is his second attempt in a row to find that final puzzle for the lethal. And looks like he knows that. He's going to say GG, because this is probably where the games end. He's absolutely aware of that. I don't think it was total attack, question mark. I think that, they're referring to the Bob the Cat, perhaps.
Yeah. Gotta love that discard popping up as well.
Let's switch over to Llama's perspective and see what he's up to then. So, does find the Scorpion. He's going first. That's lethal. He doesn't need to play any more cards because he sees his opponent has 3 life. 1 card, one lethal. And there we go. So,
admittedly, though, he did get Deathlotus Assassin, which would have killed him. So it basically come down to...
He did find the Deathlotus Assassin.
Yeah. If he'd found that 1 turn earlier, he would have won.
Yeah, but this deck looks very well geared to in the Ariane matchup. You know, SGSs and Horde Stalkers getting that extra health, which is, you know, a big tempo swing. You want to separate your health as much as possible against Ariane and other Rosans. I'm not too sure about the card in general. I'm not sure if it's actually that good overall, even in this matchup, because Horde Stalker not particularly efficient. but still a worthwhile weapon if you're already running 2D longs and 2 SGSs, I suppose. And clearly a lot of gold in that deck, so might just make sure he finds the weapons to strike with, and because he has a lot of gold, and runs things like Death Lotus Assassin there. If you have, if you do find that gold. As it can be hard to build it to balance an Ozan deck around only a little bit of gold and a little bit of weapons. You might want to go.
Definitely.
But that is the end, and I think actually there's not that many strikes in the deck as a result of that. I don't know how he'd fit them in, so yeah, that might be worth pointing out as to why he didn't manage to find one. But again, could just be bad draws, and really it was. He didn't find that strike, and if he had, he could have taken that game. But deck building, certainly a big part of this game, and I would be very interested to see what his deck looked like. But ultimately, it does look like HolyLlama will be picking up that first win there for game number 1.
Just noticed in chat there that HolyLlama said that he didn't know how the Ring of Recoil actually functioned.
Oh.
As it's based on your base attack, not your actual weapon attack as well.
So
you thought he was dead at that chapter.
Oh. Yeah. I thought they were talking about the Bob the Cat from earlier, which where you take damage. I'm not sure. That might work in the same way. Anyway, though, but any comments on this game?
No, it was a pretty close game, as we've seen there. I mean, the only thing that slowed Duck down was his lack of draw, oddly enough. He just didn't get that the damage he needed to finish him off, and he had the full chapter of to find it with no luck. And sadly, since HolyLlama was going first, he took that win on the was it the 4th or 3rd chapter? I think it was the 4th. I think it was the 4th.
But yeah, HolyLlama picking up game number 1 in this series. Let's get into game number 2. Are you ready, Zalx?
Yep, ready when you are.
All right, in 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, game number 2 in this best of 5 series. Duck versus HolyLlama. Absolutely. So, Duck playing his Ozan for the 2nd game in a row here. And in this matchup, oh, hold on a moment. This is a bit different to the Ozan, or is it? Actually, I think it might be the same Ozan. The thing is, we didn't see the Penguin Sheeps or the Mimics last game, but it does make a lot of sense considering the Horde Stalkers and the SGSs. Looks like he wants to keep the Penguin Sheep, but still could arguably potentially be a gold Zan, though I don't think it is because of Dazing Shot and the strikes and things like that.
Yeah, there's definitely strikes, and you got the Penguins in there as well. Yeah. So it's an interesting deck. I don't think I've seen many Ozans run a Penguin Sheep.
Yeah, I mean, it does remove your attack, right, and then it means your strikes are going to be less good, but it's only going to be slightly less bad, and it does ramp you into the weapons much more quickly, so, lots of gold is going to be able to afford those those big weapons that are in his deck, but I think in this particular matchup, it is worth pointing out that, the Horde Stalkers and the SGS is not going to be nearly as good. That health going to not be very relevant at all, because HolyLlama, I don't really think he cares what his opponent's attack is at, his opponent's health is at, because this deck is very focused on getting on its own agenda, on its own health, on its own armor, on its own attack values, and getting to that final fight, or sometimes bursting them down before then with something like Tokash, but only when they can do it all at once. They don't want to be striking until they know they can deal 30 solid damage, and I think this Raptor, isn't going to care. Those 6 health heals from the Horde Stalkers aren't going to be particularly relevant, but looks like Duck going to be opening with Void Brawler.
You mean HolyLlama, right?
I do mean HolyLlama, yes.
Yeah, right. HolyLlama looks like he's playing a tanky Raptor there with lots of heals and draws, so it should be quite interesting. Sadly, it looks like he didn't get the an AP booster he needed to kill that Void Brawler in 1 hit. Means he takes 11 health damage.
Yeah, but
which is quite a lot for 1 AP.
It is, especially in this matchup, right? He knows that he saw at least last game that the opponent was running some form of aggressive, striky deck, and the damage you take, that's 6+5. I mean, it is only you'd only really take 3 net damage of, I believe, 2 because you do lose 5 health and gain 3 armor, but still, you had to tank that 3 damage. But I think it was absolutely the right call, as it gave him that weapon and from the Slime Toes, and it lets him get that attack up. And if you don't find anything else, sometimes you really do have to Void Brawler. Otherwise, you have a very, very stale start. And it's you don't want that at all, because Raptor can brick very, very hard if you don't find the early game attack. But going into chapter 2 here, and 12 gold in Duck's inventory. Interesting.
I'm still wondering what Duck's deck is. Like you've seen there, we've just seen a few draws coming in there, which was strikes and heals, but it's very hard to distinguish what this deck is, especially with that Penguin Sheep. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. It might just be a weapon deck by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think it is an aggressive deck that, Hat runs all these. It just runs tons of weapons and tons of gold draw and a few strikes in there. And I think you're right with that assessment. It is some sort of aggressive deck. It looks like he's going to bob the cat first, and absolutely will probably get something. I don't really think there's very much generally Raptor doesn't like spending gold or doesn't do that very often, especially this Corp deck. It just seems to stack up a lot of armor. Sorry, a lot
Definitely.
of... Well, it certainly does that, but I meant gold. It certainly stacks up a lot of gold, unless they spend it on the D-Long. So this Bob the Cat, gonna work.
Yeah, Bob the Cat should be pretty good here. It'll steal some gold, but I'm more interested in that dazing shot. If it was one turn later, it would have hit the Jad.
Yeah.
For 15 damage.
15 damage, and that's like the call. I think that was actually... not a bad call to make at all, because, or actually, hold on a moment, I'm thinking, if that slot 1 from HolyLlama was something like Sergeant Slimetoes or Count Draenor, which we do see, but obviously first chose to play the does praise him there. Perhaps he was thinking about that Jad. He was thinking if he plays the Count Draenor on slot 1, he might play the Jad in slot 2, or he may play the Sentinel in slot 2 if he gets a Slimetoes weapon or something like that. And doesn't end up hitting the Jad, but I think he was thinking about it, and that's absolutely the right thing to be doing.
I think that's the second Jad we've seen this time just narrowly escape some kind of buff or damage from it.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting.
That's true. I think it's a lot safer versus Ozan, because Dazing Shot is just one card, and, I don't think a lot of Ozans run Fern, and Archimage Segredor certainly don't run that in the deck. But, yeah, you are absolutely right. 15 damage is dodged effectively, and that's happened twice now. Alright, so what do we see coming out of these players?
Is that double snapshot in his hand? It is, isn't it?
It is.
So you can quite a bit of burst damage here.
Yeah, he's going to be... look at that Dazing Shot placement as well.
Going for the second Dazing Shot there. Looks like he's trying to hit rather another Jad or something big.
Let's switch over to Llama's perspective here. It looks like he's going to be opening up with, the fledgling there. Wants to get his health back up to 30, and will have, of course, 7 armor. Wants to just keep his health high, generally speaking. And it probably looks like he's anticipating taking damage over the course of this chapter, considering the placement of that rock crab, and that's absolutely something that will be happening to him. Wants to keep his health high, because that corporeal beast is only going to be effective with high health. So that's his, that's his agenda. And it looks like he's going to get up to that. He's trying to get up to that attack so that he can either 2-hit the corp or more easily kill the corp. Let's take a look at what he draws, and that is a Colormancer and a Sergeant Slimetoes.
That's an interesting one. I mean, he's got a lot of health healing in his hand there, and I don't see that much burst from Duck coming in.
Yeah, so that just spells, like, I feel like HolyLlama is absolutely okay. If he's got the health, even if he takes the damage, and he's got the healing, sorry, even if he takes damage, which doesn't look like it's, taking too much damage at the moment.
He's got a huge advantage right now in terms of this game.
Yeah.
As you've seen there, the Dazing Shot as well only hit the Rock Crab, so now both Dazing Shots out of his deck, HolyLlama can play cards like Jad quite safely.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore, that's right. But what is HolyLlama going to draw then? He's got the 2 strikes. I'm not really sure what else is going to do a lot of damage here. It's chapter 4. He needs to find a way to get his opponent down low pretty quick. It does look like he finds a Wilderness, certainly going to help. And I think he's got the gold now with the Darren Lightfinger for the SGS.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think, Wilderness, Mage of Zamorak, Darren Lightfinger, SGS to get the weapon, carry it through to the next chapter. So it looks like he has, the damage potential to finish this game out, but we know what's in his opponent's hand. 2 Coloromancers, right? And a Sentinel, which you can, sometimes use to get 5 health if you kill it in one hit. And certainly that Corporeal Beast as well. Yeah. Doesn't look like it will see play this game, though.
Now played Troller at the end of this chapter, this means he's got Monkfish for the final chapter as well.
Oh, did he play that? Wow.
He did, yes. At this point, I kind of feel like Duck has lost. I don't think there's no way he can do enough burst damage at this point to counteract the amount of healing that HolyLlama has. And given the base attack of APs, then I feel like HolyLlama's took this. I don't think there's much Duck can do.
I would agree with that assessment, absolutely. Especially with the fishing trawler end that you mentioned.
Yes.
He's just has the healing necessary to just stay well above 30. He could just slam them down just to be safe. It doesn't even matter if he's not even going to take any damage. You just play them anyway, just to guarantee that you go into the final fight with as much health as possible. He's completely stabilized, and that's exactly what the point you're making, right?
Yeah, I'm probably expecting Corporal Beast next turn. Actually, no, am I? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'll be expecting probably all the Monkfish to be dropped and probably a Coromancer next turn from Llama just to keep himself above that 30 HP threshold. Not much can be done now.
Yeah. I mean, even if his opponent, does manage to strike him twice and then somehow equip another another SGS, he's still going to go into the final fight, HolyLlama that is, with about the same attack as his opponent, if his opponent had an SGS in the final fight. So he's basically, all he really wants to do is just heal. Yeah, all 3 Monkfish going down there from...
and there we go.
And a Colormancer at the end. Yeah, just nothing but heals. Wants to make sure he goes into that final fight at 30 life, and then just start pummeling his opponent in the face with Raptor's ridiculous amount of AP that he can get over the course of the game.
As we see from Duck there, he's saying well played to HolyLlama. I think he's realised that his demise is imminent.
Yeah.
So it looks like this game will be going to HolyLlama.
But yeah, I feel like
2-0.
The problem with this deck, right, especially in this matchup, it looks like a fairly well-built deck. It's got the weapons it needs, it's got the strikes it needs. But the issue is it takes a while to get going. You have to generate that gold all in the early game. You have to draw the cards to find all these combos with, and then you start striking them as early, perhaps as Chapter 2. But by then it might be too late versus a Raptor who finds either the fishing trawlers or the Colormancers and the Count Draenors and all of the things like that. Whereas Ariane is a lot faster, a lot more explosive to start with. Ozan took a while to get going here, and Raptor was completely okay with that. Got to where he wanted to be, and as a result, does get to 7 base attack and finishes his opponent in the final fight.
Yep, as we see there, he takes the win. So that now makes it 2-0.
2-0 in Llama's favor. Absolutely. It was I like the deck. Sadly,
I think it was an interesting deck.
Sadly, all the heals from based on the weapons like Hordestalker and SGS aren't quite as good in this matchup as they were in the previous one, but still, Duck's deck, and it's clearly working from 65% win rate, right? That's really high.
Definitely. It's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
It was a good match, though. I think both players played pretty well once again. We've seen both of them use their decks to the best that they could with the cards they had.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the matchup was a bit more geared in Llama's favor with all those heals in his deck.
Yeah, I think the matchup was definitely more favourable of Raptor there as well. It would have been interesting, though. I wonder what would happen if the outcome had been different with that dazing shot on the Jad and those things. Certainly would have had less health, and and the question is, yeah, he got his fishing trawler and all those heals and things, but he found them quite late. The question is, would he have stabilised in time to start playing those heals, and would it to get to that final? 15 damage is a lot, and that might have been what Duck needed. But the dazing shot, there aren't that many high health creatures, high attack creatures well, there are. There's like Dagannoth Sentinels as well, I suppose it could hit. Yeah. There are a number of other creatures. Jad is definitely the one you're aiming for, but hard to pick.
Dagannoth Sentinel.
Yeah, it's interesting. What do you think of Corp in just generally now that Fishing Trawler doesn't do what it used to do? Of course, for those of you that don't know, perhaps you're watching this in the future, Fishing Trawler used to heal both players to full HP for 4 gold. It now has a similar symmetrical effect, but is not nearly as good. That was abused so much back in the day in the closed beta. But it now means Corporeal Beast doesn't have a way to get to Corporeal Raptor. Sorry, doesn't have a way to get to full life, does it?
I think Corporeal Beast is still pretty strong. I think right now, though, in the current meta with all the Arians that do direct health damage, it's not as strong as it was back then with Fishing Trawler.
Yeah. And
especially since Corporeal Beast now had its 5 gold removed, it's even weaker as a card.
Yeah.
So generally, I don't think it's good for the meta right now, but it may be good for the meta at a later date, depending if Jedex do decide to change any of the health damage cards that Ariane has.
Yeah, or maybe if they just phase out just because of metagame shifts, maybe like a healing decks become more popular. Ariane just isn't quite as good in the metagame generally, and then people start playing decks that don't, really leave Raptor's health high, then Corporeal Beast is always going to be better, right? If Ariane, for some reason, sees less play than it is now. If you have a deck against a deck that doesn't care what your health is and just leaves you alone to do what you want, Corporeal Beast, you more often than not going to get about 25-30 armor out of it, but not in the current meta. I don't know if it's necessarily good in this format unless you specifically know there won't be Ariane, and that's interesting, right? Because you can, you don't have to submit deck lists to this. The conditions are you win with a particular legend, and before the game, if you know they can't any longer play, there's 2 classes they can't play, you can just gear your decks up towards the remaining 2 classes that the opponent can play, and you can see some really heavy counter plays in text. I'm not sure if that's healthy for a tournament generally, but certainly it's interesting for the very first one, which is this tournament. So I think that's an interesting mechanic. I'd like to see how that plays out in the finals. But ultimately, we do have another game coming up, potentially the final one. It is match point on HolyLlama's favor, right?
Yeah, that's completely true. It is match point, right?
All right, looks like Zalk has quickly muted his mic. But we are going to... Sorry?
I said him, sorry, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
The door opened.
Welcome back. All right, we do have game number 3 in this best of 5 series coming up there. The score is currently 2-0 in HolyLlama's favour. So, what do you think HolyLlama's going to play? He can no longer play Raptor or Ariane, so he's stuck with the what is considered at the moment 2 of the not quite as strong legends. I know there are differing opinions in the community on that statement, but I think overall, as a general whole, Ozan and Linza currently are not considered as strong as Ariane and Raptor. So, you know, he's disadvantaged now with perhaps, arguably, as I'm saying, not everyone agrees, but those 2 legends, and that's certainly my opinion, Unforgiven's opinion, Zalx's opinion. Well, I can't speak for you. What do you think?
I think he's probably going to go Linza. Right now, if I had to put a rating on the legends, I'd kind of say Ozan is probably the weakest.
Yeah.
Given all the changes he's had, I'd say Linza's probably the next bet we see.
Yeah. I think, you know, considering his win rate 65% there, and the number of games played, it's his 2nd most played legend. I think HolyLlama going to be quite happy queuing up with Linza there. So we'll have to see what happens. Are you ready, Zalx?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
All right, game number 3 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right, game number 3 in this best of 5 series between HolyLlama and Duck. Does look like he's going to queue up the Linza, as we suggested. They're up against Ariane. This is actually a good matchup. I did mention...
Yeah, it definitely is.
I did mention that, you know, HolyLlama is... not HolyLlama. That Linza, you know, might not be as strong as Ariane, generally speaking. But if you're running that sort of what I've titled the Clown Fiesta heal deck, you can just win against Ariane quite, you know, not too hard. This doesn't look like quite as aggressive Ariane. What do you think?
We're seeing 2 Effins, a Spellbook, Ferns, Peons for draw. It seems like there's LMG Storm as well. We're seeing quite a few slow cards in his deck here, so I don't think it's as aggressive as One Attack Ariane. But it may be a format of One Attack Ariane.
Yeah, well, we did see a Lunar Spellbook, I believe. So it's, you know, as you said, it's not as aggressive as some of the decks that we've been seeing. But certainly, you know, with the Lunar Spellbook, that's another way to win games, right? And absolutely another avenue you can take Ariane down. And sometimes it even fits in those damage-dealing decks as well. This Fern, though, I like this placement. It does hit a Dust Devil or a Fremennik Crafter if it were in that slot. And, you know, if he was trying to Dust Devil or Fremennik Crafter, that would not work, as you might not. The weapon would be used up fighting the creature, and then it would not resolve. But, you know, neither of those cards in that slot there. But still, I like the placement. Krasian Warrior, though, still a very good thing to hit, and does, of course.
It did 14 damage to him because of that as well. Right? That for 1 extra health that Fern does give creatures that overall 4 is quite effective, especially in the early game.
What do you think of that South Sea Pillager? I think it was a nice placement. It was far enough in the turn to have allowed gold generation. Sadly, though, you know, Duck didn't hit any gold draw, which is lucky for him, as it means it wasn't stolen. But I think it was a very good placement from Llama, and that could have crippled the Ariane here if he played some spells that, you know, had committed to spells and didn't have the gold to cast them with. This could be sketchy. Look at all these cards costing gold. He doesn't have any gold at all. Does find the Black Armband. It does have the Ring of Charos, but it's not that useful unless you know, already have gold to spend it with on the other things. It's not like you can just get the gold out of it and then keep it in your inventory. You have to use it the second you get it, effectively there. But it does find some gold.
Yeah, it seems Duck's deck is very heavily reliant on gold draw of all these support cards coming in.
Yeah, or maybe he just drew badly, as potentially.
That's true as well, but
yeah, but you know there are a lot of supports, as you mentioned.
Yeah, there's this card again.
Yeah,
there's a Lunar Spellbook in his hand, which is, you know, quite important.
Yeah, there is a Lunar Spellbook, and in some matchups that's very, very strong. It can be very, very good against Raptor, and it could be very good against Linza as well if you're increasing these small creatures with, you know, cards like Boost and Group Heal. Certainly the one that gives them 5 extra attack and 3 life is pretty good there. Does find the Black Arm Bandit, and, you know, that is 2 gold. Melzar the Mad coming out from HolyLlama there.
There's the Melzar.
Yeah, and this deck does look like it's running a lot of cards in its hand. It's a deck that wants to have a lot of cards in its hand. So that Melzar is going to be very, very good, because now his opponent is holding 3 useless cabbages. And what that does is, you know, I presume Duck was hoping on drawing 3 cards next turn. He left space in his hand, unless there's any card draw at the end of this turn. I don't know if I don't think there is, but actually we can confirm. No, we can't. Anyway, the point is, you know, those cabbages are going to block his hand up. And it means that when he draws cards, he's not going to have space to draw them, so he won't draw them. And if he wants to get rid of those cabbages, he's going to have to play them. And, you know, that wastes an entire chapter, right?
Exactly. Like you can spread the cabbages out, but generally you're going to be losing 3 slots with them, which is quite heavy.
Yeah.
Melzar, a very strong card. Very, very strong card.
Yeah, look at that. A full hand, and he's going to skip 3 draws, and that's really, really huge, because there's no gold in this hand. And he's not going to find anything to play those bunyips with, so they're useless. And he wants to be getting that Lunar Spellbook, I presume. Does Wind Surge, he's going to use a gold and then play the cabbages. Look, all the cabbages just coming down there, just wants to get rid of them out of his hand because he needs the space in his hand to draw. And what that does for HolyLlama is buys him extra time. It really effectively has just bought him a whole chapter to find what he wants to do, draw more cards, perhaps find those heals, and it's basically, extended the length of his game, or more accurately, reduced the length of his opponent's agenda by 1, just slowed him down by one whole chapter.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just quickly checked chat there. Someone suggested instead of Melzar putting the cabbages into your hand, what do you feel about them putting them into your deck?
That'd be terrible. The card'd be awful.
I think it'd be terrible as well.
Yeah, no, I think it
depends on how many cabbages it puts in, but even then.
Yeah, if you're drawing cabbages, I can see that being quite bad. But over the course of the game, you're unlikely to draw that many, and I find like the impact isn't there anymore because you still fit cut new cards in your hand. It's interesting though. It depends on how many cabbages. If it was 3 cabbages, it would be awful, like I said. But if it was more cabbages, if the card was changed and designed differently, based around that idea, I think it could be really good. I actually think that's thinking about it, an interesting idea. Maybe another card that puts cards in your deck. That'd be cool. But I think Melzar should be left the way it is. But certainly interesting for future cards, right? Putting cards in your deck that you don't want.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I mean, hopefully he needs to draw some gold here. He does pull the Infernal Mage there, which he can bunyip into. I mean,
you'd have to Ring of Charos into bunyip. Oh no, you can't do that. That Wind Surge he played last chapter, gonna be regretting that. But he had to really if he wanted to play any cards at all. Exactly. I think he is gonna Ring of Charos and bunyip.
He is going to. Oh, what?
Yeah, no. He'll work out the order. He probably knows.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh god, this draw is disappointing, right, to say the least. What does Llama do though? Let's take a look. 2 Monkfish is going to get his health back up, and then going to Ali Morrison and get the full Tetsu out, and has one remaining Monkfish as well. So a very, very healy turn. Going to gain a lot of life. In fact, that's the maximum amount of life you could possibly get in that turn with those particular cards. So optimizing that turn for health gain, which is absolutely what he wants to be doing against Ariane. And that, the effectiveness of that Melzar is just demonstrated in this match, right?
Yeah, there's the bloody Discord again. You're completely right. I kind of feel like this turn sort of cements HolyLlama's victory, because Duck right now is quite hand-locked. He has no way of really generating much gold besides, the Infernal Mage. I kind of feel like we may see the game come to a conclusion next chapter in Llama's favor. I
think you're right. There's no way he can deal 40 effective life damage. I mean, even with just health cards, I don't think he has enough to deal 30 damage either. And that Lunar Spellbook is now completely useless to him, because we're going into Chapter 5. There are no more chapters. Even if he does draw those cards, it's not gonna mean anything. And you can see Duck, sacrificing a lot of health to kill that Infernal Mage, and he's okay with doing that because he knows he has to kill his opponent because he won't win in the final chapter. He's gonna have to do it very soon. He does have the Earth Wave, but now that isn't, well, it needs to be the old version of Earth Wave, right? Which it's definitely not.
It's not. No, it's a shame. It really is. Looks like...
I wouldn't say it's a shame. It is for him, but I'm glad Earth Wave is gone.
No, I think Earth Wave. Yeah, okay. If I'm speaking truth, Earth Wave was quite powerful. I think that there might be game. I mean, he's gonna put out, what's that? 18 damage from the Earth Wave, which is still pretty good. Yeah. Is that right? No, will it be
well, no, not 18. It'll be 4 plus 7 or something.
I'm thinking,
like that.
I'm thinking 6. The old.
Oh yeah, the old one. That would be. I think that might. I wouldn't kill him. Or actually, it might. If that was the old Earth Wave, that might actually kill him, which is the funny thing.
Yeah.
That's how disgusting that card was.
Yeah, exactly. Could have just won him the game right there.
Yeah, but it's not. So for those of you that don't know, if you're watching this in the future, from a long time from now, in closed beta in the very early days, Earthwave used to be very similar to Earth Blast. It did ×2 damage. It was changed as it was now because it was disgusting. He does have, he has got the 5 gold for that, and there it is. He's going to do 11 damage, bringing his opponent down to 7 life.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, that's, he got him down quite low, right? If he had a Fire Surge or something as well.
Yeah, it would have been close to game. It's just a shame that he didn't get that gold generation early game. And it might have, changed the entire game.
You're absolutely right.
There's the Monkfish there coming in. which seals the victory for HolyLlama.
Yeah, it was that lack of gold draw, wasn't it? And it was that lack of, well, not really a lack, but certainly that Melzar the Mad did work. Really blocked his hand up and, didn't manage, meant he didn't get any of the gold draw because his hand was blocked, and then was never able to play Lunar Spellbook, which by the looks of it, this deck is hinged upon quite heavily, considering the amount of gold draw in it with Rings of Cheros and Black Arm Bandits, which, by no means the best gold generating card, certainly not that good, but if he's running them, it suggests to me that he's already running those other good gold generating cards, such as Ali Morrisane, and, possibly Mimics. I'm not sure, maybe he wanted safer gold draw that doesn't deal quite as much damage to you, but, it looks heavily hinged upon that, of course, those books, which, just didn't have the space to draw the cards with, and Melzar doing very well. And that does conclude this series as a 3-0 victory to HolyLlama. Some very well played games there. That was a really fun series.
I think that was a really good game. I mean, even though it was a whitewash, most of the games were really close. It's just a shame that this duck didn't get the draw he needed for this.
Yeah, and this highlighting some high-level play, I think. HolyLlama, a very strong player, and I'll be looking to see where he ends up in the future of this tournament. I think he's an eye to keep. Look at those win rates. He's a good player, and I'm tempted to see, and skilled with all legends. Clearly, has played a number of games with all of them, and because of that, has that knowledge for the future where you will have to play all 4 legends.
Exactly, that's going to benefit him at a later stage in the tournament.
Absolutely.
As we've seen from the other players, they have their strong legends, but some of them have not played 1 or 2 of the legends, which may be a downfall at a later date.